Welcome to Tuned In, the show for people who want to split up the game to look for clues. From Saturday morning television to the Sunday funnies, we're here to discuss all things cartoon. I'm your host ZW, and today I'll be talking about the Scooby Spin-off, Velma. Let's go. Before we get into the content, make sure you subscribe to my channel and ring the bell. If you consider yourself to be a part of the Animation Nation, you are not gonna wanna miss what I have in store for you. Okay, that's enough self-promotion. It's time to tune in and chill out. In case you haven't been on the internet in the past couple of days, let me fill you in. A new Scooby spin-off has been released. HBO's Velma is a prequel that is supposed to tell the story of how the Mystery Incorporated crew came together. Since Scooby-Doo has been spun off like 13 times by now, I figured this was just a run-of-the-mill reboot. I was wrong. And I don't like saying that. Internet meme makers and clickbait titlers alike lit this series up, flooding the internet with materials like this, and this, and this. After seeing so much hate for the series, I decided to take one for the team and see if it really is as bad as everyone is saying. In this video, I'll discuss the changes made to the series and let you know if it's worth even finishing the first episode. The first thing that so many people were angry about was the race swapping. Velma was changed to more closely resemble her voice actor Mindy Kaling. The internet bros went wild over this one. Despite not caring about Scooby-Doo for the past million iterations, this was the one thing that got them all up in arms. I wonder why. I personally don't think changing the characters' races is that big of a deal. As long as the new versions have personalities that are similar to the classic characters, I don't see an issue with changing it up a little bit. The main problem, however, is that the characters are not like their classic counterparts. This series thrives on stereotypes. Daphne, voiced by Constance Wu, is the head bitch in charge of the Popular Girls and the former best friend of outcast Velma. Shaggy, voiced by Sam Richardson, is depicted as a simp and is even canceled for his interests in Velma. Fred, voiced by Glenn Howerton, is a neurotic pretty boy who is obsessed with winning his father's approval. And Velma has big, not like other girls energy. She spends half her time complaining about the Popular Girls and the other half of her time resisting Shaggy's earnest advances. None of these characters are likable, not one bit. Despite having an absolute star-studded cast, I couldn't find a single person in this series that I liked. And in my opinion, it all comes down to bad writing. The characters are reduced to one-dimensional stereotypes, all for the sake of easy jokes. Let's move on and talk about the Velma pilot. The goal of a pilot episode is to get the audience hooked. That's why many times the first episode of the series will include lots of gratuitous nudity and violence. The opening of Velma calls this out within the first 5 minutes of the show. How do they do this exactly? By having a bunch of naked, underage girls discuss this fact while showering. Daphne calls out the trope while perpetuating the stereotype. While the writers might have thought this would be some super cool meta joke, it really came across as trying way too hard. I personally think this is a great first joke in Velma because it sets up the rest of the jokes in the show. The humor in this episode pretty much falls flat. Every joke tries so hard to be edgy or meta or different that it just all ends up being an unfunny mess. When watching the pilot, I wrote in my notes that the jokes kind of feel like nudge nudge, wink wink. I don't really know how to put that into real words, but I'm hoping you'll understand what I mean. Beyond the jokes though, the premise of the show itself is really cool. Velma is a mystery-loving teenager gripped by delusions. Every time she tries to solve a mystery, she's suddenly overcome with the feeling that something evil is trying to give her a heart attack. These sequences were by far the best in the show, with Velma being attacked by literal monsters during her escapades. The animation gets super dark and the monster design is really killer. If they included more about her delusions and less social commentary, wokeness, cancel culture, etc., I would definitely be a fan. Let's move on to my final thoughts. To conclude, I don't really think Velma is worth your time. The characters are unlikable, the jokes are and the whole vibe of the show is just off. It comes across more as click and rage bait material than entertainment, and based on the feedback online, I don't think this series will be around for a second season. What do you think? Is Velma really as bad as they say it is? Let me know in the comments. And that's all I have for you today. Thanks for watching my video. If you enjoyed this cartoon commentary and would like to see more in the future, go ahead and subscribe to my channel. Until next time, thanks for tuning in.